Take you to KZN now, where Premier Sihle Zikalala has given an update on flood relief and rebuilding efforts in the province. He also said the province has received a weather warning for this weekend. For more on this, I'm joined by our reporter Letiwe Mhluli, who was at that press briefing by the Premier. Letiwe, the Premier also saying that the province has been given a severe weather warning. Tell us more about that.
Well, Maseko, very bad news coming out of this briefing, as you've heard from the Premier saying that the province will be experiencing quite a lot of rain this upcoming weekend. We're also expecting for snow, and you understand quite the fear that people have following the floods that we experienced last month as a province. Of course, there are cautions for those people that are living in low-lying areas to be cautious this weekend, and also for those that lost everything. It means that there are fears from them because they are currently being sheltered in various community halls. But the Premier did share that disaster management teams have been dispatched to various areas across the province to monitor the weather conditions. But it's not good news coming from this press briefing. We did also hear from the Premier sharing that COGTA will be around the province, just making sure that those people that might be affected by this rain or the severe weather condition will be taken care of. They are saying that if KZN receives over 20 millimeters of rain, this might lead to flooding as well. So not very good news coming from this press briefing. But while he was speaking about the weather conditions that we will be experiencing this weekend, this is what the Premier had to say.
The provincial government has received a severe weather warning notice from the South African Weather Services for the coming weekend. We are advised that if KwaZulu-Natal receive an additional 20 milliliters of rain, there is a potential of flooding as the ground may still be saturated following the recent heavy rains. We have been advised to expect snowfall and freezing temperatures. The EXCO will, through the Department of COGTA under MEC Sipho Hlomuga, put all our disaster team on full alert. We urge our fellow citizens to be aware, especially those who may be in flood-prone areas. Everyone must exercise extreme caution, and we appeal to the people to be careful as they use self-heating mechanisms, including gas heaters and others.
All right, let's see. So the Premier also says there's been a lot of assistance from the President and national government. He thanked them for this. Did he say whether there's been any financial assistance from national government?
Well, Maseko, there's been a lot of reports regarding this funding coming from National Treasury. A lot of departments across the province have said that funding has actually not been made available to them. Of course, there are those government departments that are pleading for government assistance, including the Health Department, Human Settlements. You'd understand that over 40,000 people in the province were left destitute, and we've been speaking to those people over the course of last month that do not have homes. So a lot of government departments, especially during the budget votes about 2 weeks ago, did share that they have not received funding from National Treasury. But the Premier is saying that they've actually received assistance, and he has thanked the President for all his efforts. He has also shared on an update regarding services that needs to be provided to various communities, especially water. He is saying that a lot of places are still without water, but they are working on repairing that infrastructure. Places such as Tongat especially, and also Umlazi, because we have been in that area over the course of last month, where we've been speaking to residents who are sharing that sometimes they do receive water tankers on a daily basis, but in other times they do not. There's also been questions around the funding that is going to be allocated as to who's going to monitor and make sure that those funds reach the people that were affected by the floods. The Premier is saying that those funds coming from government, there will be people that will be allocated to make sure that all that funding that needs to go to people will reach those people. As for funding that will be coming from private entities, he is saying that Chapter 9 institutions will have to play a role in making sure that they monitor the funding. But in terms of the response and what the local governments are saying is that they do need National Treasury to release those funds so that they can work around the clock to make sure that they repair services. And I think I want to make a mention especially about human settlements, because currently there's various people living in shelters and community halls that need to be moved. While speaking to the MEC for Human Settlements not so long ago, he did share that they are now currently identifying land where they will be building temporary housing shelters, but they had a problem with various ratepayer associations who did not want those temporary housing shelters to be built near their homes. Identifying land has also been a problem because there's a lot of low-lying areas in the province, which means that those people for now will have to remain in those shelters. They are saying that if they need to remain in those shelters, that means that they will be exposed to unhealthy conditions because we are dealing with a high number of COVID-19 cases. I remember not so long ago I spoke to a 65-year-old woman who did share that where they are currently in Tuzuma, it's not safe and it's unhealthy for them to be there for a really long time. The government has not given a time frame as to when they'll actually move these people, but the MEC for Human Settlements did share that in 10 days' time they will start moving them. While speaking about government interventions, this is what the Premier had to say.
From the day the floods occurred, government has been on the front line, activating and physically supporting our disaster operations. National government, led by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, has been with us since those difficult days. We were the first to evacuate school children, residents whose homes were flooded, bereaved families, and to clear roads and ensure that all areas were accessible. Even as our resources were overstretched, we ensured speedy intervention, seeing to it that no one is left behind in their hour of greatest need. We coordinated with other provinces, civil society, and NGOs to respond to this disaster. We continue to do so even today as we lead the implementation of our Phase 3 response plan.
All right, that was ENCA reporter Lethiwe Mdluli with an update on Sihle Zikalala's report on those KZN floods. Let's